Yes, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I offer whatever suits your time zone. And more importantly, I say a very, very happy new year to all of you. And hopefully, on the second Chelsea Football Club, Thomas Tuchel and his men will get us off to a good start of the to the new year. So I hope everybody is doing well today. And today we're here to talk about Chelsea transfers, and potentially, if we have time enough, we'll talk about player power and how that has crippled, you could say, success at the club, and how it has not allowed the club to have a sustained success. Yeah, welcome all and a happy new year to you all. I see Street Beer was the first to post in the chat. She says, Happy New Year. Please, all here, do remember to subscribe and show the love to you. Brilliant. I appreciate that, Street Beer. And I have my friend Ankit from Almighty Blues FC who says, Happy New Year, Chelsea Perspective, Street Beer, and to everyone in the family and otherwise of the Chelsea. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate that. And the Queen again says, thank you, boss. And the Queen says, yes, hope the boss and Marina open the cash machine. Yes, I do hope so. But there's a little bit of a problem there. I see all may have had, we had a loss in the past year. We did not make a gain. We lost, I think it was 140 million plus. And that's a lot of loss. For Chelsea, usually we make a gain. Even after all the sales we made, we lost some money. So I don't think Chelsea will be splashing the cash that much, except if there are plans in place to offload some players, deadwoods like others call them, but I don't like to use that term because it's dehumanizing if you ask me. So sell some players, make some money, recoup, and balance the book a bit, and then have enough to go out in the market to buy some players. But then again, the January period is the time that is a transfer window where usually clubs don't spend that much. It's a risk. They do spend when it's necessary, but sometimes it can lead to what is called, what we call panic buy, and then leave to regret the purchase of a player or something like that. So we will start, I think it's important we start by talking about the search for a replacement for Ben Chilwell, the potential replacement for Ben Chilwell. If you ask me, I'd include Robin Gosens from Atalanta, Theo Hernandez, AC Milan, and then, of course, what's his name? Lucas Digne from Everton in the Premier League. And big up to you, ZV Genius, Matt, a friend and a brother. I appreciate you being in the chat. So it becomes very difficult. The question is, which one of these options is the most viable for Chelsea? Which one of them will come in immediately and solve a problem? And which one of them would Chelsea go to and the club would be willing to let go? As it is right now, the most viable, the most possible option that the club could sign in this window probably is what's his name, Lucas Digne from Everton, and the reason being he's fallen out with Rafa Benitez, and it doesn't look like he has a future there as long as Rafa Benitez stays. Except if Rafa Benitez leaves Everton and they get another manager, then the chances of Lucas Digne staying at Everton is very, very high. But at this point, I think they wouldn't mind coming for Ross Barkley, trying to facilitate Ross Barkley's return to Everton and then let go Lucas Digne. But I don't think Lucas Digne is the best option for Chelsea if we're looking for long term, because he's 28, and if you watch him play, I think I would argue that he doesn't really suit Thomas Tuchel's style of play, because he struggles one-on-one to dribble past players and do something with the ball. But other options such as Theo Hernandez is He's good on the ball. He's got some, you know, excellent skills in terms of dribbling his way out of tight spaces. And he's not one of those when players come at him, even when he's close to his own 18-yard box, he doesn't normally go. That is the type to put the ball up front out of fear. He's confident on the ball. I've watched his video over and over again while I'm preparing for this stream. If you go, even when Theo Hernandez has about 3-4 players on him, he's very calm on the ball, just the kind of calmness you see when Thiago Silva has the ball. So I think for me, I'd say he's the better option, given that he's just 24. But there's a problem there because AC Milan, they're fighting. They just how many points away? They just 4 points off the top of Serie A table, 4 points below Inter Milan. So I don't think they would be willing to let a player of such high profile leave the club at this point, and they could still win the league because it's just 19 matches into it. So that's one of the reasons why. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I think I don't think AC Milan would want to let Theo Hernandez leave. And if you're in the chat, I think Lucas Digne is 28 to 27. Please let me know if I'm wrong. Then Robin Gosens also. Gosens is 27, the Dutch international. Is another good option, but I think his age is where the issue lies. Plus, Atalanta is not far-fetched. Atalanta is in the top 4. Let me share the screen so that we can understand what I am saying. Yeah, so if you look at the screen here, this is a Serie A table. As it is, Inter Milan is top on the table with 46 points. Second place is AC Milan with 42 points. That's 4 points off the top. And Napoli, and then you have Atalanta, who has 38 points. So Atalanta is in the top 4, as we refer to it in the Premier League. So I don't think Atalanta would want to also let Gosens go. Maybe after this current season, or if they decide to let him go, Chelsea must be willing to write them a huge check because he's a big player for them. Same thing as Theo Hernandez. And as you can see, AC Milan is just 4 points off the top of the table there. I don't think they will let them go. But Theo Hernandez, I've watched him, like I said before, a lot of his videos, and it just seems he's the most suitable for the way we play because of his ability to play out from the back, no matter how much pressure that opponents puts on him. He's very calm. He's ice cold on the ball, I would put it that way. And he's not just one of those left-footed players who's just always looks to play the ball with his with their left leg. He supports his left leg with his right leg very well. So I think he's the better option there. And maybe the club, and I've heard last time when we were, the last Blue Morning episode, it was Bobby Fairview who let us know that Marina has made contact with AC Milan regarding the possibility of Chelsea buying Theo Hernandez from the club. So I think, yeah, that's the most suitable player given the way we play. But most people will argue that Lucas Digne probably will be the best option because he has Premier League experience. He's been in the Premier League now, I think, I'm not sure how long, but at least more than 3 years or so. But the fact remains that he's not that young anymore, and he's not been in great form of late. Even before the arrival of Rafa Benitez, he's not been in great form, it seems like. But some would argue once he comes to Chelsea, he will regain his form because he has a lot of good players around him. Again, you know, Chelsea's story with players who are close to 30 or players who are above 30. I know he's not 30 yet, but that will still cause an issue in 2 or 3 years. So maybe if Chelsea is just looking for a temporary fix for the temporary solution transfer, or the problem we're having right now because of the absence of Ben Chilwell, maybe get him a loan and then with an option to buy, or maybe just get him a loan and at the end of the season he goes back to Everton while Chelsea buys gets a permanent, not a permanent replacement, you could say permanent, a deputy for Ben Chilwell or somebody who both can rotate in and out the team, because we don't just want a deputy who's not capable of playing or switching, capable of rotating with Ben Chilwell, because that's an issue, which means when Ben Chilwell is not playing, we have a player who's not good enough. So we want a player who's going to be good enough, even capable of, becoming the starting left back, that will make both of them, the player and Ben Chilwell, to always be at their best and push each other, to give the 100% to the club. So I don't think just a deputy will be enough. We need somebody who's good enough to even bench Chilwell himself, so to bring out the best in him. Yes, Streetbeer says we don't normally do well with Dutch players, alas. I have Dutch players. We had some great Dutch players. We've had Arjen Robben, he's Dutch, and he was great for us. It just at the time, I think I can't quite recall why he left Chelsea. Maybe it was his relationship with Mourinho then or so. I'm not sure. We've had Van Ginkel. He's not been lucky with injuries, but whenever that is the few games he's played for Chelsea I think it was under Jose Mourinho, he was good. He's not been lucky with injuries. Trivia says, I agree with the AC Milan player, but I should say the money. Yeah, it is January. And when we go for players during January windows, the clubs, they sense, desperation. And when clubs sense desperation, they ask for more money. And that is the truth. It's January. They know our situation. They know that we are in desperate need of a left-footed player a left back or a left wing back player. So they will up the price. And that is if they are willing to sell, because as you can see, they're just 4 points off Inter Milan, who's topping the Serie A table. So Gullit also, good point. So I'm not sure AC Milan will let go. They'd have to give them quite a lot of money for them to let Theo Hernandez leave at this point. There are Russian snipers around Lukaku's house. I hear he is moving mad. Yeah, it's it's a funny situation. That's hilarious, though. But the truth is, if you ask me, I'd say the situation probably to some measure was taken out of context. Was it right for Lukaku to speak the way he did? I'd say no. That was very unprofessional of him. And he's now, turned the Chelsea fans against him. And I don't think it was... like I said, very unprofessional for him to have spoken the way he did. Even if you wanted to, apologize to the Inter Milan fans, that's the way you do it. You still remain neutral, so you don't incur the wrath of the fans of your current club. But I don't think he considered those things, and now the media is making a meal out of the situation, and it all comes down on him. And I was speaking to one of my friends today about the situation. Let me digress a little bit and talk about the Lukaku situation. And he says there's nothing to it. And like Toko mentioned during his presser, I mean, they're making he's just causing unnecessary noise, and the media is making it even more than what it is not. And that's the truth, because he's a human. He's probably just trying to apologize to the Inter fans, but he did it the wrong way and ended up causing himself a problem. So, I think what will happen is that the club will fine him, and I think he will learn a lesson from that situation and will never talk like that again. I'm going to put the link in the chat so whoever wants to join can join us. And Matt, thank you for asking for the link. Yeah, so Lukaku situation can be, I mean, it's a very serious situation. And again, to me, some people will read it and say there's nothing to it. Some will read it and see a lot of issues with his comments. I think he wasn't careful with his choice of words. So that's, I mean, he's his burden to bear and not mine. He better find a way to make up for it, maybe by scoring a hat trick against Liverpool. That would be a good way to just shush everybody. Okay, now the link is in the chart in case you want to join. And yes, Happy New Year to everybody, and Happy New Year to Ankit. And yeah, so let's move and talk about how about the whole idea of the interview was a mistake considering the timing. Yeah, it was a mistake if you ask me. I mean, I don't think he thought it through before going ahead with it. And again, I don't know who advises him. I think his advisors also must have been aware of the interview, the schedule for the interview, and should have or could have, however you want to phrase it, asked them to not do it, and they probably knew it was wrong. That was why it took some time. It took a while before the interview was made public. And what a timing! It just seemed as if it was some sort of, some sort of measure to try to cause problems in our camp, and maybe lead to us leading to losing our next games, but I don't see that happening. And again, something else I saw on Twitter, some people saying that Lukaku will be dropped to the bench. I don't think so. We're talking about a player that we spent 100 million plus to buy. So his job is to come here, score goals for us, and help us win trophies. So his comments at this point will not, that is irrelevant in terms of how it will affect his selection for the team. I think he will be selected. What the club would do will be to fine him and make sure he understands that they are not happy with what he did. How about welcome to Chelsea Perspective? I know this is your first appearance on Chelsea Perspective. If I'm correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, probably. Even I don't remember.
Sorry, my headset was off. Can you hear me?
Yeah, probably the first time.
Oh, okay. So how are you doing, brother?
Yeah, very good. Look, about this Lukaku situation.
Yeah, it looks like your microphone is a bit low. So how about, let me ask you, while you adjust your microphone, what do you think about the Lukaku situation, overall, the interview? What do you think?
Look, first, let me just tell you about his time at United. Like, I never wanted him in the first place. It's not just that he's not a good player. His style of play is not how I like to see my team play football. He scored 25 goals for us in the first season, and I still wanted him gone. And he is someone who is a very insecure as a person, forget as a player. He's a very insecure person. There was this time around the just before Ole came in, like there was a lot of leaks in the media that he was getting overweight for the World Cup. From after the World Cup, his speed has decreased, and he leaked speed stats without consulting the analytics of our club in the media, showing that he's like the fastest sprinter in the training after Luke Shaw, something like that. So that he's that kind of a person who always has a chip on his shoulder, in my opinion, and he's just gone and done that. Look, obviously you guys are very upset about the things he has said, but obviously I feel bad for you as Chelsea fans, but the most I'm feeling bad for is your manager. Like, he does not need this at the moment. I mean, you have already are in so much trouble. You're the only team with Newcastle who haven't had a break this COVID time. You're playing games after games. Your two fullbacks are injured. One is out of the season. Both of your centre backs don't want to sign the contracts, or you are not winning games. and you have a very, very tough January. You play Tottenham twice, you're playing Liverpool
Mm-hmm.
twice, and Man City win. So you don't need this right now from your most expensive signing of this club's history, right? My whole take on the situation is that if I was a Chelsea fan, if I was Roman, I'll be, pulling him into the office and asking who gave you the permission, because this was done last month. He didn't tell the club, he didn't tell his agent, he didn't tell anyone.
Yeah,
Why did
that's
he?
the most surprising aspect of the whole thing. The interview was done last month. Why release it now?
Exactly, exactly. And if he has to say all this, forget the Inter stuff. I don't think any Chelsea fan care about that. The thing is that if he has problem with the Chelsea system, why can't he bring it up face to face with the manager behind closed doors? That's how a player does this. And I think this is where the player power is coming into the perspective. Like in this modern era, like the players have so much power. They have the whole brand value around them is so much. Like Lukaku is 92 million, if I'm not wrong. That's how much he paid for it. He thinks himself that he is, I think he has this inside him that I'm coming to Chelsea again just to prove haters wrong, that I was good in the first place when Drogba and all those guys were there, and he's not getting picked even now as well, right? Like Havertz and Werner and Pulisic are all starting ahead of him. I feel that's why he's feeling a bit let down, or maybe a bit insecure, and rightly so. You do play well without Lukaku in your team, in my opinion. I think there is much more fluidity. I keep bringing this game last season when you were at the in the Madrid stadium, the different one, the one they had, the second stadium. I think that's the best Chelsea game I ever seen. Like the front three you had, I think it was Pulisic, Mount, and Werner that day, and all three of them absolutely tore the Madrid's defense into pieces. So I think when Lukaku is not there, yes, you're losing some goals, but overall the style of play, the approach towards the goal is very much, more dangerous. And I think even you would agree that Thomas Tuchel didn't wanted Lukaku. You were chasing Haaland throughout the summer, and towards the end, when Inter wasn't offering a contract to Lukaku, then only you went in and you paid over the odds in. He's not a 90 million striker in my opinion. I don't care if he is 28, 29. This is
Yeah,
his last contract.
I think to me, if you ask me, I'd say it was. But that has happened, and there's nothing we can do to change that. If you ask me, I'd say it was a panic buy after all. No matter how anybody argues that, is he good? He's good in his own way, but he doesn't suit every game. So are there games that he will be important for us? Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But it just seemed as if in his absence, and let me just phrase it this way: the fact is, in his absence, we create more goals. But when
Exactly.
he's playing, we create lesser chances. But two, three opportunities that he gets, he puts away at least one of them or two of them because he's missed some chances since we signed him. I'm surprised nobody talked about that. But that's not the situation right now. The question is why this whole comment of him not liking the manager system or so, or however he phrased it. Because the first two games he played for us, he was brilliant. Everybody was like, whoa, we signed the best striker in the world. And then he got injured. He that is making that comment, did he even consider those periods that he was out injured, the two, 3 games he played, first 3 games he played after his return, he was good. So I don't know what went wrong. Why what that mindset, and yet, like you said, he's one of the most experienced in the team, and he's making such comments that can be divisive. It can cause a serious division in the team, and the younger players, even his teammates won't be happy by seeing this. But that's by the way, Matt. Welcome back to Chelsea Perspective.
Hey man, good to be here. Happy New Year, boys. Not the best start to the new year we've had with Chelsea, but we've got to keep pushing through it. Honestly,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So we digressed a little bit just to talk about Lukaku's, comments that's in the media, causing a lot of stare, causing hate from the Chelsea fan base. I think we'll go back to that, but let's bring it back to the transfer. Matt, I'm sure you're well aware, and Herbert, I'm sure you're well aware of the options available, not really available, that people are talking that Chelsea are looking at, because we cannot be sure any of them are available, except to an extent you can say that Lucas Digne is available because he's falling out with Rafa Benitez. So we have what's his name, Robin Gosens, Atalanta. We also have what's his name again? We have Theo
Time.
Hernandez from AC Milan. Matt, what do you think about those options? Which
Don't
one of
worry,
them do
time.
you think will be a better signing for Chelsea?
I'll be completely honest. We shouldn't even be looking at other left backs because we should be getting Digne within the next 48 hours because this should be the easiest transfer we can get over the line. And I've already said this a couple of times. If we don't get this over the line, it's going to be very embarrassing and it's going to show how Chelsea can act within the next coming summer window because this is probably the easiest transfer we're ever going to get. So I want Digne to come. That's what I'm saying. We shouldn't be looking at other kind of targets. Digne should be our first one. Get him on loan. Let's not sign anyone. I want Hernandez. I think Hernandez is a fantastic player. But I think Digne is more realistic. It's more affordable. It's what we need. We need someone from the Prem to come into another Prem team who's experienced, who's got leadership, who's got all the qualities that we need, and help us out for about 6 months.
Yeah, but here's the thing. There are rumors that Marina has she's already made contact with AC Milan. If Theo Hernandez is just 24, if that's a long-term
It's not.
solution.
It's Theo. I think it's Theo. It's Theo Hernandez. Is it Theo?
Sorry?
I think it's Theo Hernandez. Not
Theo Hernandez,
Theo.
yeah.
Yeah.
So he's 24, right?
Yep.
Now, he's a long-term solution for us if we can get him this window. But I understand the obstacles. That's the possibility of getting him is difficult because Milan is second place in the Italian league table. As you can see, as you can see it here now, they're just 4 points off Inter Milan, who's topping the table. So if we can buy him for just a fair amount of money, I think we should go for him right now because do you think Everton would let Lucas Digne go on loan? Because a loan deal for Lucas will be fine.
Yeah, for sure. I think they should definitely be letting him on loan because he's had that falling out. They've already bought a replacement. And I think, because I think the Everton board know Benitez is going to be there for long. So giving him a 6 month loan could at least kind of relieve Benitez to his needs and wants. And then when he's gone, they can just call him back. So, and I think it's also better for Chelsea that we don't need to kind of invest in anything yet because, we've already had problems with our investment, and obviously the recent one with Lukaku, like now that's turning into a very bad investment that we've had. So I don't think they want to take that risk. And we shouldn't be taking that risk with these players at the moment. Summertime, I want to get Hernandez, but I think at the moment, Digne is the perfect option for Chelsea.
Here's my argument, Matt. I understand your point, and I've thought about it. I'm thinking because we're not a very patient club. Our board isn't. Our fan base, and we're not the very patient that is fans, the Chelsea fans, as we all know. So if we really want to win something this window, we need to go for the best. And do you still think that Lucas Digne is the best we can get at this point? Because he's not been in great form of late. If you've been following the Everton games, I like watching Everton games because of Alex Iwobi, who's my fellow countryman. So, but the fact is, he's not been doing well of late, and that's probably one of the reasons why he's falling out with Rafa Benitez. It's not just about how do I phrase it, about his relationship with the manager. It's just maybe it has to do with his performance to some measure. So if we can get Theo Hernandez this window, why not get him and be sure?
I,
Because Lucas Digne, I don't think Everton. I mean, you could argue they maybe want Barkley back on loan or something. It could be a swap deal. If that happens, I'd take it. But I don't think we should go for Digne because it would just be one of those. By the time you know it, we'll be screaming Deadwood, Deadwood, and we'll be counting him like one of them.
but that's the thing.
But
We're not going to be counting him as Deadwood because it's going to be a loan like Saul. Like Saul, we can just ship him back. Like it doesn't matter. If we go for Theo's going to be about 55, 60 euros. I don't know what that is in pounds, so it'll be about that much. If we're going to invest that much right now, I don't see us doing it in January, and definitely not going to be happening this January for sure. So I see probably in August, but we need someone now, and the most realistic and quick option who can come in, who can already start playing. Form is temporary, class permanent. Digne has been a fantastic player in the Premier League. This season, he hasn't been that best, and we've obviously known because of the falling out And always there's a lot of mental issues more than the physical issues with players these days. So I see him coming to Chelsea, and if he does come, performing, because he does bring a lot of qualities to this team, and he's very experienced. He's 30 years old or 29 or something, so he has experience. Like Theo Hernandez, we said he's 24. He's getting his career started. I'm perfectly all for it to get him in August, but I think it's best we go for a safer option at the moment.
Oh, yeah, I think Matt, you really prepared for this fight, but here's the thing, Matt. Now we want competition. We don't just want a temporary fix for what's his name for Ben Chilwell. We want a competition with Chelsea. We need two world class left wing back players that will push each other, and we don't have that, and that's the issue we have. Marcos Alonso, whenever he comes in, he plays 2 or 3 games, and then he just slides into his comfort zone, and then he loses form. So we want a player. Do you think Lucas Digne had, let's say for instance, if we strike a deal with Everton and it's with an option to buy, with an obligation to buy, and then in the end, at the end of the day, we pay for him and keep him at the club? Do you think it's good enough to push Ben Chilwell? Because we don't just want a player that will sit on the bench and only wait for Ben Chilwell to get injured before they play. We want a player that when Ben Chilwell is playing, he knows somebody is ready to come in if he messes up. We want somebody that's capable of, just, nudging Ben Chilwell out of the team and become the number one. And Ben Chilwell, just competition is great. And
we can't have competition if there's no competition to be there. Ben Chilwell isn't going to be there till August. So if we get,
I understand that point.
Like
just if you understand how I put it, if we go strike a deal with Everton today, and the deal is with an obligation to buy, because they're smart enough, they know we're desperate right now. You know that.
No, I wouldn't go for obligation. Definitely not. If we get a loan, which is what we've been appearing and what's been happening, for sure. But definitely not obligation. I think anyone can always say definitely not an obligation. If any obligation, then I'll go for Hernandez. That's the thing. Digne is a short-term fix. You can come in. As you said, we're desperate right now, and he's the only realistic option. Hernandez is not going to leave Milan right now. There's no way. The only realistic option and a good left back is Digne. We should be getting him within days, because this is probably the easiest chance we can get, probably ever we had. It's like he's not playing because the manager doesn't like him. Like, they've already got a replacement for him. I don't see why we won't get him.
Okay, let me ask you this way: do you think he can get the job done and help us fight for the title? Because it's not over yet. We could still push for it.
I definitely think he can help. If I'm bringing a player into my club, it's to make sure that they can fight for the title and bring something, and I think we can all agree with that. So he can definitely bring stuff in. As I said, he's got a very, very great leadership skills in him. That's what I really like about him. He's got a great step here, great crosses. He kind of matches some quality to Chilwell, but not as good as Chilwell. But he still brings in similarities towards Chilwell, which can help us win the league.
So you're thinking there's no way the club is going to go for an obligation to buy, and which means he just comes in for 6 months, he goes back to Everton. That's what you're suggesting.
I mean, that's what's been rumored, and that's what's been like kind of here. If they will go for obligation,
how about from the player's own perspective? Do you think Digne, as a French international, who he's been alternating with Theo Hernandez for the left hand side for the French national team, do you think he would want to come to Chelsea for a loan?
He would want to come loan, but I don't think even he would want to kind of stay there, because he knows there'll be competition there. I think he's a player who wants to be in that pitch every single day. So if we can get him in, and if the ball gets him in for 6 months, that'll be perfect. We don't want to make the same mistake as Saul. We get him in, and lucky we didn't put obligation on him, or we'll be screwed right now. So they want a short term. We need a short term. It should be an easy deal, and he's the best person to bring in because he has so many qualities that we are missing.
Okay, how about this option? Can you see anybody can come in here if you want to. How about this option on the screen now? I don't know how to pronounce that first name there. Mazraoui, let me try and pronounce his last name. And also, we all know Tagliafico. What do you think about those two options? Let's stick with the left and back position now. And both men are in the last 6 months of their contract. So isn't that another good option? Because Digne's contract, I think, is 2026 or 2024.
2025. Just quickly, I'll let
2025.
someone
So
else say this, but Mazzari is a right wing back, a right back. He's not a
yeah, yeah, he's the guy started it there. Yeah, right wing back. That's because we still need a player in that area.
Yeah.
So now, but let's start with if you wherever you want to start. But these guys all both are in the last 6 months of their contract. If money is an issue, so why not go? We know the quality at least for Tagliafico. Why not go for these guys? And how old is Tagliafico, for instance? How old is
Oh,
he?
I think he's 23. But I
And
remember
even
we all
younger.
remember him trying to go for him. He's 29. No, my bad. He's 29. I'm thinking about the other
He's
one. The other
29.
ones, Mazzaruri is I think 23, and then Tagliafico is like 29, 28. So he's like
So,
he should be coming in his prime now.
so for you, you don't think it's a good idea to go for Tagliafico?
You know, I wouldn't even mind it for again 6 months. Like if we're saying permanent deal, no, not permanent deal. But if we're gonna go for 6 months, then we might as well because he's coming in his form right now. This should be his form, and he's still not that bad of a player. But I'm really scared of buying Ajax players. I'm really scared of buying Ajax players. I don't know. I just have that feeling like
Why is that?
we'll see
Because of our experience with
not even like
yeah.
even in general, that just those teams, same as Dortmund, like those teams who generate fantastic youngsters and then sell them off for 4 times their price. I'm just scared of them now because I've just seen so many teams and so many players just not play well when they're with that big price tag next to them.
That's a great argument there. So, guys, anybody in the panel can contribute. How about Mazzuri? Do you know him that well? I don't know him that well.
I have no clue who he is. I don't know who. I think is. I just searched him up now. He's a Moroccan. He plays at Ajax as well, but I have no idea how he plays.
And you've argued you don't want Ajax players.
Yeah.
Okay, but that's by the way. Okay, let's talk about the right wing back position. Guys in the panel, anybody can chip in. Who do we think will become? I don't think there's any short-term solution in that area. We haven't heard about too many of them, but we've heard about Dest, the U.S. international who plays for Barcelona. He's a fine player, and he's still very young. What do we think about Dest?
Like that's the Barcelona one.
Yeah, the kid, the US kid. Do you think he's good enough to provide? Because we can do. I think we can do without James. We have a couple of players who can play in the right wing back position and play it very well. And the fact still remains. I'm going to argue this to tomorrow. The way we apply our system or the way we apply our formation, our wing backs, their primary responsibility is to attack. Yeah, they do have some measure of defensive responsibility. But whenever N'Golo Kante is on the pitch, they have proper protection. They're usually in the opponent's area. So who do we? I don't think that's a priority right now. But I think the club will be looking for one, given that it's been rumored that Cesar Azpilicueta has already started talking to Barcelona. I'm not sure how truthful that is. But the truth is, we need competition for Reece James because sometimes it doesn't look like he's consistent. Today he's at its best. Tomorrow you see Reece James who just wants to pass the ball backwards or sideways. So what do we think? Who do we any player do we know of any player who will make a good competition for, provide great competition for Reece James and push him to always be 100%? Dest is a good option if you ask me. So does any other player come to mind?
I mean, on paper though, Dest is fantastic because he plays right wing as well. He's a very average, like dead average player right now. Even though he's 21, he's doing decent. I wouldn't say he's superb, but it is probably a good option that we can invest in if he's a cheap price. But again, not even competition. We need just a backup as well for him because, as you said, we're going to lose Azpilicueta. Even Azpilicueta in or out, we still need a backup in that right wing back position. Because again, I think James can play throughout, but these injuries are killing us. They're really killing us. And now he's out for another 6 weeks. So what are we going to do here now? Ask us to play for 6 weeks. Like if we had a backup like this would be perfect for us. So I definitely think it's probably maybe an August solution, maybe not a January. I don't think we have time or any references right now, big names who we can go for. But I think this is a summer option.
You came prepared. Honestly, I rate him highly. He's still a kid, and there's still space for him to improve. And in a team like Chelsea, I think Thomas Tuchel knows how to bring out the best out of young players. If you ask me, that's my argument. Herbert and Helgi, you guys have anything to say? You've been awfully quiet.
No, I was like,
Are you just living the fight for I and Matt?
yeah, yeah. I was waiting for my turn in passions.
No,
Uh,
no, don't worry. You can always come in with. You don't have to wait for
yeah,
your
no,
turn.
but I enjoyed the discussion because we like after the Brighton game we discussed a bit together about the possible options that we can sign, especially in these positions like left wing back and right wing back. And still, the idea is that it's only the first day of the January transfer window, so no concrete name comes to mind. But an update from yesterday actually was that I don't know how truthful and how reliable the news are, but it's an option that we may sign Kieran Trippier from Atletico Madrid to provide competition for Reece, which isn't an option that I would be totally against because he provides a Premier League experience, may not be the as young as Dest and may not be the most exciting kind of name that can like make people like very with the high expectations for him. But as want to reiterate that in January it's very difficult to sign your like first targets, and also the experience we have by supporting the club. We know how the club operates, and especially in January when they um, don't go for the cheaper options, but also have shown signs that they not sign anyone and they wait till summer to get. At least this has been the approach from the last 2 years. So I would be delighted if we sign him on loan possibly. And also coming to the discussion about Dean, I feel that it's not an option of choice, but it's an option of it's a matter. It's not a matter of choice, but it's a matter of what's realistic and what's not realistic. And I don't see signing Dean with a loan with an obligation to buy as a realistic option because we have fresh memories from the Saul matter, which dragged till the final day, and it was exactly because of this problem. So Atletico asked a loan with obligation to buy, and we settled for a loan with option to buy. And I don't see how this stance can change regarding Dean. If we sign him, of course, I expect him to be signed loan with option to buy, and that's it would be a very good deal all around because it wouldn't be any place for regret. So he would provide Premier League experience, a quality option in attack. And although he hasn't had his best form recently, I think that he would be good enough to provide temporary competition at least for the end of the season to Alonso because he's the only one that we have fit at the moment, and the same stance is for Reese. So if we manage to sign Dean and Trippier, especially with in loan with option to buy, I would be like happy with our like with our business in this kind of positions. Now about the rest we shall see, but the most important thing is to not jump into panic buys and settle for the conditions of other teams, like go for obligations or spend a lot of money on players that we can regret. So if we sign both of them alone with obligation to buy, even in the worst case that they don't turn out the players who want them to be, we don't have place to regret, and we send them back to their parent clubs and then sign quality options in the summer. So personally, I'd be very happy with these two.
Yeah. Again, there's something I'd like to reiterate here. We are Chelsea, and Chelsea are never patient. The board never patient. The owner never patient. We want quick success, and I can assure you, and I'm happy that everybody in the panel we're just thinking strategically right now, and that's good to see. But the fact remains, Chelsea will never be patient because there's still the Champions League to play for, and for the Premier League, it isn't over yet. It isn't over yet. and it's not 8 points. It's not that too. It's too much given how good Manchester City are playing right now. But the fact is, Champions League, how much the owner values it, he wouldn't mind spending a lot of money if Tuchel says, we want this player for a long time, he could go get it. But the problem, like we've established from Theo, I don't know how to, Hernandez, let me just say his last name, Hernandez, plays for AC Milan, and they're second in the table, which is 4 points off Inter Milan. Atalanta Gosens is 28 or 29, they say. But I think we wouldn't go for Gosens. If anything, the club will be, has been rumored that Marina has made contact with AC Milan regarding Hernandez. So I don't think the club will be as patient as we're thinking right now, because this is happening at the time where there's still a lot to play for. And if we say, let's wait till the summer, that's a problem. And then we could go the whole season without anything. And here's the thing, we have other issues. I know, Matt, you're still there. I like your argument so much. We still have issues in the center-back area, in the defensive area, not just the flanks.
Right now.
Exactly. Now, Thiago Silva, they haven't extended his contract. They're still talking. And what's his name again? Andreas Christensen is already talking with another club and has decided he want to leave, according to the rumors.
Yeah.
Cesar Azpilicueta, we heard is talking. So, go ahead. What'd you say, Matt?
No, like just like our centre back. Like, how embarrassing is it? Like all three want to leave.
Exactly. But that's a discussion for another day, because it begs the question: why did we leave it so late? Rudiger's case is understandable because there was a time he was so poor that we all thought he was going to leave, especially under Frank Lampard. But that's by the way. I don't think the situation calls for just a temporary fix. We need a real fix right now, or by the end of the season, we'll be empty-handed. For the midfield, it is manageable. By the time everybody is back, fit, and ready to go, you can always, when Kante isn't playing, we can manage all the players, but we'll still be shipping in goals in his absence. So we need serious fix. What this highlights is that the fact is that we've been spending money, but we've just been spending it. I don't know. It just seemed as if we did what Arsenal did, spending money for the sake of it. We weren't strategic about it. And now it is clear to us we have a big squad, but we don't have enough variety in the squad. The squad isn't balanced really as we thought, but we have big numbers. Mm-hmm. So now coming to the defensive area, Matt, would you still suggest what we need is a temporary fix? It's the temporary fix, so to speak. Go ahead.
If you're talking about centre backs, I mean, no, I think we need a permanent fix. I think Kounde needs to come in. I think we got to start looking at other people as well, because Christensen can leave. Like no one generally cares if Christensen stays or leaves. Like, we don't care. But Rudiger, on the other hand, this man needs to stay. We need to push him to stay, but it's looking like he's not going to stay. Then we still need need to have a replacement for Zuma that we never had. So we still need to get probably 3 centre backs. I would say at minimum 2 we need if Rudiger and Christian both leave, and then we've got to focus on our left, and then there's everything else in our back line. So I do think we need a permanent fix for that. But also I was just looking on news on Trippier. I don't see anything really sourced about Trippier coming, and then I think someone said Trippier said that Newcastle made a bid, but I don't think that's going to be true either. So I don't see Trippier coming in January. I don't see him in August, but I do think. And I said this 1,000 times. I repeat myself. Digne is the most realistic option. He's the most. We should be going for him. We should be getting him over the line by tomorrow. I'm not even gonna lie. We should be. This is the easiest signing we can ever make. We should be focusing on Digne right now.
Oh, okay, Matt. Let's agree. Which is the most pressing need right now? Which is the most pressing need? What do you say?
Are you talking about out of Trippier and Digne?
No, out of the centre backs and the flanks, the flanks in the sense of the wing backs, which is the most pressing need if we look at things right now, because the truth is, that's why I'd argue. Look at how, in the absence of Thiago Silva, how important he is to this team. He's not the quickest, but his calm presence, his experience, the way he connects our defense to our midfield, and the way he leads the back line, when the only person closest to him who's able to do all those things, who's come on the ball, able to play out from the back, able to connect our defense with our midfield, is Andres Christensen. And now we're hearing that he's negotiating with other clubs already. He's trying to leave us. Some people will argue, well, Trevor Chalobah can play there. Trevor Chalobah can play there. He can defend very well, but he's not able to lead like Thiago Silva will.
I think Thiago Silva
He's not able to even control the back line. The last time he came on, we were everywhere. So we have, to me, if you ask me, I'd say the center half is where we have the most pressing need right now. Because without that, we'll be shipping in goals. We can't always outscore opponents. That's the thing. So what do you say? Did you say the flanks or do you say the center halves, Mart?
I'm just gonna quickly say just before I get into what we need. Just when there's links with Newcastle, just remember no team will pick Newcastle over Chelsea, no matter the price tag. When players are linked to Newcastle and we're linked with them too, we're gonna make sure that we're gonna have the higher lead. If we don't get a player and they go to Newcastle over Chelsea, questions are gonna be asked. But who we need the most, I don't even know how to answer that because we need a lot of players. I agree with the backline that we don't have any leadership right there, but probably has to be. I think Kounde has to come in if we're saying hypothetically, Rudiger and Christian are gone because. But again, we need to see. I can't even answer this question for you, man. It's so hard. It's so hard. We could even say midfielders as well, for we know. But it's just there's so many. I don't even know who to say.
Wow, I think the truth is I think we're in such a serious situation right now that it's not even easy to solve it. And remember, guys, we have the link to the panel in the chart. And again, the show is called Blue Morning, and you're all welcome to Blue Morning. And hopefully we'll all have a beautiful new year. And we hope our boys will get a win for us and get us off to a good start. So now, it is a very, very peculiar, let me phrase it that way, situation. Because, Matt, I'm sure you've heard how much we lost this past year, which isn't really surprising given COVID situation, and also, but you think that but because before time, I remember, was it a month ago, some people were saying, oh, how Chelsea can spend around, I think it was around 150 million, and there'll still not be issues. But now it just occurred to just after the, how do I phrase it? After the accounting, let me just put it that way. We're learning that we've lost almost 150 million. So that compounds the situation. And that highlights the fact that, it's not been that easy actually to offer Rudiger what he's asking, or even to offer close to what he's asking. So how do we solve this problem? Because we've agreed right now we need center backs. Right center back we need also a left center back, and then we need somebody in the middle that can lick them in the mode of Thiago Silva. Matt, the problem is everywhere that the moment you start thinking about it, it gets compounded even more. You get confused yourself. So where do we start to solve this problem? Because we can't wait till summer. If we try to wait till summer, we'll go the season empty-handed.
I think we just start with the left wing back. I think that's most priority now because I can't stand Alonso there anymore. But Rudiger and Christian are probably going to stay. They have to stay till June. They got to stay till June until their contract ends. So then we can get Kounde in August. But January is going to be a window where we should be buying a lot of players. And as I said, at that time, we don't know what no teams buy players in January. This is where we get rid of loans and we get loans from teams. So we need to go in hard. I think there has to be a left wing back coming in. And if we can get Tchouameni coming in, because the right wing back, yes, we need someone there, but do we need him right now? If we trust Azpilicueta, if he's captain material like everyone says he is, then he should be there. No negotiable. He should be there then. So I think left wing back and then Tchouameni.
And Tchouameni, you say?
Yeah, I already said I want the three French boys: Digne, Tchouameni, Kounde. That's what I would hypothetically want, but realistically, it should only be Tchouameni and Digne if we can. Do you think Tchouameni is possible this window? I think it's possible to get him this window, but I don't see him probably coming. I see him doing what was rumored last season, where we get him and then we loan him to August. I would hypothetically, I would love him to come now, but I do see us getting some contacts in and possibly getting that, sign him now, like with Pulisic and get him in August.
Yeah, because the truth is, the more he stays there, the price will keep
higher his
going
value,
up.
yeah.
Because it was way cheaper when we first started talking about him, and now I think the price has gone up almost twice as much. Herbert, you can always come in. You have anything to add before we move to another topic?
Yeah,
Okay,
I
looks
think
like.
realistically you have to go for Lucas Digne.
Sorry. Yeah, so let's go ahead. Havertz has lost connection. So Matt, let's talk about the midfield that you talked about now. Are there other options, or you just bent on it? The choice there being Tchouameni.
I mean, I've discussed the midfield options 1,000 times, and I don't want us to pay 80 million for uncooked rice. And I think we should go with Tchouameni because I think it's the only person who can come in our squad right now and solve it. Because I don't see any other midfielder who's on the market who can come in and fix it, and who's here for the long term. He's a cheap-ish price, and it has to be Tchouameni. We've had that Kamara, we've had who else? Sterling, I don't know, some other Sterling or Sal, whatever the other guy's name is, Camavinga, but he is the option who needs to come in now.
Yeah, I think his option needs to come in now. But the fact is, it is January because to to the stumbling block there would be whether Monaco would be willing to let him go at
Yeah,
this
that's the
point. I
only
think.
problem. Yeah, it's just sitting in
Yeah, I
Monaco.
think January, two things are when you go for play in January, the club they smell blood. They sense that okay, you're desperate. They see it as an opportunity to get more money from you than they would have gotten had it been other windows. So neither Tchouameni nor Rice, CDM, they both are defensive-minded midfielders. But Tchouameni can create chances. I've watched him a lot. I think he's a creator too. What do you think, Matt? Do you think he's
Yeah, he
so
can't
defensive
score.
that he doesn't create chances?
No, I think he's put in that position to be more defensive in it, but he can be very attacking. Me and Amir, if you know Amir, Amir's a massive fan. He's told me everything about Tchouameni, and we kind of replicate him a little bit to Kante in the sense where he brings the ball up from the back to the attack. He can be attacking if he wants to, but he plays more of a defensive role in Monaco. But I do see him if he comes in, and we need him as an attacking player. He can provide those qualities. Very, very all-rounded midfielder he is.
Yeah, I've
Not
watched
like
him. Yeah, and he's he's more mobile than Rice, if you ask me. But my argument has always been, will Rice be a good signing for Chelsea? Yes, it will be a good signing. But is Rice what we need right now? And
no.
would Rice want to come to Chelsea and only gets to play when N'Golo Kante isn't playing? I don't think so. I think the better option for Rice at this point would be Manchester United, where they don't have a defined defensive midfielder. He's gonna know that if he comes to Chelsea, it's not gonna. It doesn't make sense to start Rice and N'Golo Kante in the same game.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. We'll be sacrificing the way we play if that happens. So either one of them, only one of them can be on the pitch at the same time, and then with either Kovacic or Jorginho. So for Rice himself, I don't think it would be a good option. He's better off going to Manchester United. Plus, he wouldn't want to, as an England international, to come to Chelsea and only get to play when Kante is injured
Yeah,
or not
exactly.
playing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Nah,
but that's
I wouldn't. I
go ahead.
also think it's just he's not the perfect fit for us right now. I think he's more defensive, and he needs a lot of support around him. And I don't think we can provide that right now in times of need. And I think Tchouameni is just more all rounded, as I've said. So I would rather Tchouameni. If Rice comes, I'm not going to be disappointed, but I would not advocate for Rice.
That's that's it for this. Before we switch to the next topic, Matt. So you guys, we only talked about Trippier for the right wing back position and Dest. We didn't talk any
Yeah.
other option. Helgi, do do you have any other option in mind?
About the right wing back position.
Yes.
No, just I'm basing on the rumors, and the other option that it's seemingly in the club's interest, or maybe Tuchel specifically, was Adama from Wolverhampton. But the thing is that I wouldn't prefer him due to his lack of end product. And the thing is that when you
But
play for a
Adama
club,
isn't traditionally, is it traditionally a right wing back player?
no, I know he has started his career from the academy of Barcelona, La Masia, and then he went to Aston Villa, so he started as an attacking player. And I remember him for the first time in 2016-17 season. We struggled to secure a win at Middlesbrough at the Riverside, and he was very good with his acceleration and was putting us in a lot of troubles in that game, but we managed to keep the clean sheet. And then he stick to my mind, and when I saw that Wolves signed him, I thought that they have made a decent job in recruiting him. The thing is that he's very good at the teams who want to preserve the lead at the last minutes of the game, and he can drive the ball forward and help the team who's played on the counter. But I really doubt that he will have the consistency in terms of defensive solidity when he replaces Reese. So, in my opinion, he wouldn't be the kind of option that would provide the right competition for a player who is well established at us and is becoming more and more complete. So this is the only other option that I have come across in this latest month. So, and I was listening to your debate regarding the midfield situation. So, um, uh, between Rice and Chouameni, it's a very difficult choice for me. But I was in favor of Rice due to the Premier League experience we have. We this time last week we made a debate together, and why I was in favor of Rice. So the thing is that he knows the environment and has the experience in the league and can has bonds with a lot of people like us. While Tchouameni may be more complete in terms of going forward, but uh, I want to reiterate that the expectations of people are too high for a player who is just coming through a different footballing culture, and he's very young in terms of moving for the first time from a different league, from a new environment to a new culture. So first and foremost, players are human beings, so you have to think that he has to endure the relocation process and everything that uh, makes him a better option if we could sign him in summer rather than now, which could really make us rush in terms of his development. So yeah, I would be open to signing him, but as you discussed, I don't really see that realistic to sign him now, but maybe we can sign him now and leave him on loan at Monaco. And regarding what I said before about temporary fixes, it seems I didn't clarify myself well enough, because I know how urgent there are a lot of like departments in the team that we have to improve. But I don't want to say that we should sign 5 players now in January and then get disappointed in the end. So I'm basing on the way the club operates and how we see the January transfer window. And remember, between, for example, we said that it would be more favorable to sign Theo Hernandez than Lucas Digne, but some things doesn't depend only on us. So we may spend more on him, but Milan would be very reluctant to leave him in a period when they have to fight for the title there and everything else. So you have to take everything into consideration and see the matter in a dual way. So not only from your perspective, but also from the perspective of the other clubs. And that's why I said that I would settle, not I would be perfectly happy, but I would settle with Dean and Trippier for our midfield pick options in this transfer window. If someone better is can be signed, then I would be very open for it. But you have to think based on these circumstances. I'd be disappointed if we sign less than 3 players in this transfer window,
Yeah,
and
yeah. We have so many.
we
Yeah, we
can with ourselves, because uh, like it's the urgent need which urges the club to act fast, and the expression that every negative has a positive. So the only positive that this uh, COVID and injury problems can pose to us is that they may put our board into a state of urgency and make them move quickly enough, not only because of the thin and depleted squad that we have at the moment, but also the fixture list we have. We played Tottenham 3 times, we play Liverpool, we play City. So realistically, you can't face them, but a team who has been squeezed so much, and we have to act quickly now. So in general, I expect 3 new signings at minimum, and hopefully there will be good enough signings. I'm not saying signings you could
Yeah,
stay in 4 or 5 years, but good enough to make us competitive and to make us able to fight for every competition and to have till January. Not as temporary fixes because we have the choice, but temporary fixes because it's January, so you can't ask for the best possible option. If we can get the best possible one, we have to
yeah,
act. But
yeah. Yeah,
dreaming
because more importantly, there's an argument I made. We're not patient. The board is not patient. The owner isn't patient, and moreover, there's still a lot to play for. There's still the Champions League. The Premier League isn't over yet, and if we just go, and again, with those buys of temporary fixes are the reasons why one of the reasons why we're stuck with some of the players like Drinkwater. It was we were seeking a temporary fix at that point. I think so. Jibuluju, or how do you pronounce his name? Most of the players, most of the what we refer to as dead wood. I don't like to refer to them by that term. Are players we bought because we wanted quick fixes, and then it ends up becoming a problem. So, but
Yeah, but
that's
it was
by the way, Matt. Yeah,
just last one from me. It was the summer transfer window after we had won the title, so I see it more as a sort of incompetence and a neglected approach
yeah,
towards the
yeah.
problem rather than a temporary fix because of the situation and the limited amount of dates you have at your disposal. So it's a difference
Yeah,
between signing Dean in January because of the limited opportunities you have, and something else when you have 2 full months after winning the title and then leave the things for the last day. So for me, there are 2 different things. If signing team now is a temporary fix because we have no other option, if seen as a positive way, but if we sign Drinkwater the last day after hanging with Leicester for 10 or 5 million more, then this is a sort of incompetence and struggling to back your manager or capitalize on winning the title. So for me, there are 2 different things. It's all a personal perspective, but I would be glad with Dean now because it's January, so it would be different. It was summer, and we signed someone like Drinkwater, so I completely agree with you. That's the difference, in my opinion.
yes, there's a difference here, and I agree in terms of the incompetence of the scout, if you ask me, because no matter when you're signing a player, you must know what the profile of the player you're signing, whether they will fit the manager's style of play or the manager's philosophy, and not just pay money because the players are cheap. And in most cases, if you look at those players that were finding it difficult to sell at this point, some of them were bought even when they were injured. I was watching World Righteous the other day. The other Matt from World Righteous was listing players that Chelsea bought when they were injured, and majority of them are still at the club, and the club isn't able to sell them right now. But that's by the way, Matt. Looking at this comment here, I'll bring it back to the lots of good comments that Street Beer has here, and look at this statement here. We play back three because our centre backs are terrible in back four. Same goes for why we play pivots rather than mid three. For example, Jorginho, who says if we buy centre backs who can play well in back four, that we can't field a midfield three. Matt, what do you think about this comment? It rings a bell.
What I get from this comment is saying that if we buy players, they have to fit in our back three. Is that what it's trying to
Mm-hmm.
say? Because
No, it's just saying that is. I think we play back three because our center backs are terrible. We all know that already. At playing in a back four, you understand. Same goes for why we play pivots rather than mid three. It has to do with the capabilities, the playing styles of our center halves or defenders. Let me just phrase it that way. Because the truth is, we can't just buy players now for the sake of it. We have to be careful of the profile of players we buy. So we're not stuck to a single system because we have to play to the strengths of those players. We need to buy players that will allow the manager to switch systems and not have issues. I think that's the point this my brother here, Sin, is trying to make here. And Sin, thank you very much. You've been contributing some great input there, and I love them all. But this one especially is great. Matt, I don't know if you understand what he's trying, where he's going right now. I think his point is that we must be careful how we buy. We have to buy players.
I go about this thing, yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think?
Well, obviously, as I've been saying, that's why I would prefer Digne over, someone like Trippier or like all these other dead men, because it's someone who's been prem proven, and we've had this situation with a lot of people that we want to buy prem proven players. Like look at Rafinha, we've been talking about for weeks and months on end. I'm not a fan of Rafinha because he's torn ACL. And I'm done with injuries. I don't want more injuries, but we need prem players who can come in and play now. We need someone to fix our team now, not in a couple seasons. Like people are still giving Werner time to fit in. It's like it's been 2 years, and people are still giving that excuse. We need players to come in now. That's why I'm hoping for Digne to come in, because I want to see how these prem proven players can play in Chelsea. Because if they do play well, then we have to start focusing on getting people from the Premier League, because we don't buy anyone from Premier League. Lukaku's been the recent one, and he still came from the Serie A. So we need to be patient, but at the same time, we need to get things done, because I've said this 1,000 times, and I compare this analogy that Chelsea are like teenage girls. They're indecisive. We are not decisive when it comes to transfers. We'll be going to 3-4 different players within one window, where we should be targeting one. And that's what the problem is with Chelsea. Look at last summer. We're going for Haaland, Vlahovic, Lukaku, like six different strikers, and that's just for one position. It's like focus on one, bring them to the club, because Chelsea have no drag.
Did Chelsea actually ask for Vlahovic?
Yeah, we were looking at him. Oh, I don't know
That
if
would
we were aiming for, but we're willing to look. We're willing for all of them. Even Martinez we're looking at. Like every week.
Yeah, Vlahovic for me would have been a better option. He's younger. I think he
anyone
suits
would be
our
a
style
better
of play better than Lukaku does. And one thing people didn't even know was that last season he was just 3 goals behind Lukaku, and he played for a team that created less chances. That's to show you how efficient he is in front of goal. So that begs the question: don't we have scouts that watch these games and know that this guy would have been a better option for us given the way we play? But that's, by the way, that brings me back. And Bobby, if you have time, the link is to the panelists in the chat, to the argument, Matt. So now are you suggesting, because it seems like we just have to fix the way we play and continue playing the way we play. Then in the summer we can go for players of a different profile so that we'll be able to play 4 at the back. Was that what you were suggesting?
No, I still think under Tuchel, even Tuchel said he doesn't like to play 4 at the back. So why would we go to 4 if the manager doesn't like it? I wouldn't force a 4. I wouldn't mind seeing it. I would like to see it. I'm always very curious to see how it is. But that's something we should have done in the preseason, not right now. So in August, we need a window, like a massive window. But here, I think it's more important. I think here we buy players who can fix us to get to August, because we're not going to get to August if we don't have players that come in now, because we're going to be struggling. But no, as I said, I want the 3 French boys. Do we get them now or August? I would prefer them now, but realistically, I only see one coming through this line, and that's Digne.
That's a great argument right there, but I still argue. I mean, again, it makes sense to not force the manager to change the system. And I think the way Chelsea operates, I think the manager has a hand in deciding who the club signs or not. If that's not the case, I'm not really sure. But sometimes it just seems as if they just go out and buy a player for the sake of it and without consulting the manager. The truth is, the system isn't really the issue here. We've played that system since it's arrived at the club. We've created so many chances. Our issues has always been not putting away the chances we create. So that was why the focus was then to get in a striker who can help us put away the chances. But then again, there's another issue. We let Tammy Abraham go. We let Amanda Brea live alone. We don't have another defined striker or out-and-out striker, if you like, except for Romelu Lukaku. That for me is a no-no. it's a big mistake because in the absence of Lukaku, when we needed an out striker, we didn't have one. We had to play false nine, even when that is not the best solution for us. Okay, Matt, coming to this stage of the show, are there any academy players that you think can help come back from loan or in the youth team that can come and help us solve any of these issues?
I mean, I wouldn't bring back anyone from like Gilmore Gallagher. I wouldn't bring them back. I mean, we've had Mashton, who can probably be the other one who can probably come back and help us, but he's 19. I wouldn't rely on him to come in and help us. I think we're being pretty stingy here, and if we're going to be calling on them, we might as well just go spend money on a player. Like we have the money for it. But the only probably person I would bring back, I wouldn't mind seeing Moembo in the team. I mean, he's been pretty bad in the academy, but maybe we could possibly see him do decent in our team because we didn't see him for that Brentford game, which is kind of concerning there. And again, I want to bring Broja back next season. I think he's a must. As soon as we can get him on. I don't know. I think he's on loan to August. I think as soon as August ends, he should be coming back because we're struggling in that striker position right now, and now it's getting even worse.
I think it makes sense. I don't even know why we let him live alone in the first place, because he's been in brilliant form for Southampton. Whenever he gets to play, and he scores some fine goals, and he's created chances for them. Bobby, welcome back to Chelsea Perspective. It's always good to have you around.
Hi, Coach. Thanks for having me. I can't hang around too long, believe it or not. I am working. I'm hearing a lot of sense being spoken here. I don't know who that is you've got with you, but this young man is really is killing it at the moment.
The guy on glasses?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's one of Chelsea's biggest fans from Albania, and he's doing his best to build the fan base there. And hopefully, Chelsea Perspective will also start an Albanian branch there to help grow the fan base over there.
Yeah, big up. No, he's really on point, and it's good to see Matt around. I just wanted to just quickly speak about this. You're so right. The Chelsea scouting system has been poor and has been basically totally irrelevant since the departure of Michael Emenalo. I'm a big advocate for Michael. I think he was badly treated, not just by the fan base, but by some members of the board. And I just want it to be highlighted. I've always gone out to highlight it because he is a very, very big part of the youth system that we're enjoying now, the academy graduates we're enjoying now, and a lot of even the first team that we're enjoying now. He had a few bad buys, but he had more good buys throughout his time at Chelsea. But I think he was
I
never.
appreciate you. I appreciate your honesty there that he had a few bad buys too. He made mistakes too. But go ahead, Bobby.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, anybody would, but it's not so. In football, you're not really judged. do I dare say? Although it sounds a bit of a controversial statement, but you're not really judged over a period of time by the actual mistakes you make, but by your success, if that makes sense. I mean, people like
It does
Fergie,
make sense, yes.
Fergie made mistakes. You name it, all the greats made mistakes, but their successes far outweighed any errors, and he for me falls into that category. But the issue now is that Emenalu has gone, and we need to address the scouting issue because it's failing. We also need to have a look at our football director. I love Peter Cech. We're all, very, very much Peter Cech fans, but he's got to do better. I think he needs time, perhaps, but he's got to do better. Our whole planning for this season is a debacle. We came from a point of privilege. We had just won the Champions League. We had cash in the bank, and many clubs around us that would otherwise be competitors were unable to compete in the transfer market. And we came out with very little, nothing really worth talking about. And the worst of it all was that we got rid of far too many of our best academy graduates and brought in Deadwood. We invested in Deadwood. However, what is the rectification? I think one shrewd bit of business that can happen this January, because just as the guy in Glasses said earlier, about we need quick fixes, and we do, is to bring back Ethan Ampadu if we can. Why? Ethan Ampadu can play both as a CDM and in defense. With all the shaky situation going on with Christensen, less so for Rudiger, because even if he may not re-sign, his performances on the pitch don't show that at all. But Christensen is still sort of a little bit out of form. I know he's injured at the moment, but and of course we with the age of Thiago, Ampadu would be excellent to bring back. That's, killing two birds with one stone. And then the whole right wing back and left wing back situation, we've got a lot of solutions in, not only in the current development squad, but we can look to see if we can bring back people like Dejan Sterling. I mean, we've got to find immediate answers. And these boys are Chelsea trained. They'll be able to step in quite comfortably. They may not be at full peak yet, but they will do an incredible job because they're motivated. That's where I'll be looking if you don't want to spend big money this summer. Lucas Digne, I don't know. I'm not sure, but he might have to be the only option on the left wing back position, even if it's a loan. I don't know that much about him, unfortunately.
But
But
here's where I'm concerned, Bobby, because we still have a lot to play for this season. The Champions League is still there. The
oh
Premier League
gosh, yeah.
isn't really over yet. So, do we need a temporary fix, or do we need a capable fix, a fix that will last? Because a temporary fix, you're not sure how they're going to perform. Lucas Digne has not been in great form of late.
Coach, you see my concern. Getting a capable fix would mean
Yes.
spending money on perhaps the likes of is it Martinez, um,
Hernandez, Theo.
Hernandez. That's what, about 50 million. Now, not only is that expensive, one, fine, but I don't know if our deal maker in the board is capable of making deals. If, for example, we're going after that player, she's going to need till the summer to land him. She doesn't act quickly. And that's my concern. I don't know what the problem is. I've mentioned this many, many times. It's made me quite unpopular because I'm quite brutally frank and straightforward about it. I don't favor anybody for any reason. I say as it is because my motive and my interest is the well-being of Chelsea. If she suddenly starts ripping up trees, I'll be the happiest man. But at the moment, I don't have that confidence that any deal out there can be gotten, even if it is highlighted, even if it is targeted. So I don't know where we go. January is going to be a crucial month, not only on the pitch, but what is being done in the or by the board.
And if you still have time, the back line is also where I'm really, really concerned. We've heard that Cesar Spilicueta is already talking to all the clubs. Uh, we haven't renewed Thiago Silva's contract. What we're waiting for, I don't know. In his
There you go.
absence, we've seen how important he is to the club. Even when every other defender will have his feet, in his absence, we seem to lose that coordination. We seem to that is the sim. I mean, we miss his calm presence and his ability on the ball, his leadership skills. And Rudiger, as rumored, is leaving the club. Christensen isn't willing to sign. So, are you not concerned about that aspect of the? So, are we going to wait until they leave before we start looking for a replacement?
Coach, I am very concerned. If you've ever heard me on other streams, I have been bleating about this. I argue with people about this. I come under attack about this on Twitter, everywhere. The issue is we have somebody doing our deals that is hesitant. She cannot do deals efficiently and quickly. We have a line of people that need their contracts renewed. I cannot see any reason why it's taking
Hmm.
so long. If there are reasons, I'll hold my hand up and say I was wrong. But for now, the hesitation, the delay, and people call it negotiating. I call it incompetence, basically. I just think you're incapable. You're looking at a situation as if it's uh, you're in a shopping center buying shoes. You know, football isn't like that. You've got to do your deals quickly, sharp, efficient. Look at how Man City are operating, even Liverpool. None of the top sides messes about and hesitates in the transfer market like we are doing right now. You're right. I am concerned. Thiago does need to have an extension. One of you raised a good point about buying defenders that are capable of playing in a flat back four, as
Yeah, it
well
was
as
just it was still saying and saying, please, if you haven't, please subscribe to the channel. I appreciate your inputs. You have great insight into the situation at our club, and I appreciate. That's why I want you to please make sure you subscribe and hit the notification button so that you will always be notified whenever we go online. And if you can join the panel whenever time allows, I'd appreciate it. Go ahead, Bobby.
yeah, as I was saying, yeah, there's someone saying that we need defenders who is capable of playing in a flat back four as well as a defensive three. Well, if that's what we're waiting for, I don't know. If it is, well, fine. But right now, it looks like what we are doing is what we've been doing for a long time. Being unable to decisively um, close deals, effectively close deals, efficiently close deals, it takes far too long. And the momentum of the mess is building up because of the delay. We are storing up a bigger and bigger and bigger problem. And as time goes on, there are more contracts that need extending. There are more issues that are going to develop unless we start to act efficiently and act now. That's all there is to it. I can't explain it any other way. And I haven't seen any contrary argument apart from people getting offended. Oh, why do you hate Marina? Why do you I don't hate anybody. I'm just thinking of Chelsea, and I'm just looking at a situation that is completely derailing the club. And I'm hoping somebody's going to act. I'm watching the runaway train fall off the rails slowly. And it's like we're all folding our arms, picking favorites, glorifying people for nonsense, giving them awards for nonsense. That's not what we're here for. We just want to see things work. We want to see people do their jobs and keep Chelsea at the top. That's all.
And we are really in a very dangerous situation now. And
Oh, yes.
coming to the case of Rudiger, because I'd argue that the reason why he was left so late was because he was there was a time he was underperforming. There was a time he was deep in form. He had a dip in form that it seemed as if he was going to leave Chelsea Football Club. But when Thomas Tuchel came, he stayed. I think that was probably why they left his very late, because they didn't think he was going to pick form the way he did and become a very pivotal player to the team. So I mean, it's a very concerning situation, and I sincerely do appreciate your great input. Unfortunately, you said you're at work, but if you have more time to stay, that's great to see, because the midfield area also isn't something we can just look away and say, okay, we're fine. Or maybe when players come back, we're fine. We're not really fine there. Uh, 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 we don't have more than one defined defensive midfielder. which is very pivotal to the way we play. So I think it's important if it is possible this January to also get in a DM that will get the job done for us when Kante isn't playing, so that we don't have the kind of issues we have in his absence. Stav, welcome to the stream. It's good to have you around.
Coach, please, one quick thing, because I've got to go. Just one quick thing, and then I really have to bounce.
Okay.
Back to just Rudiger. As far back as August, we've had football people, and even in September, Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank, Emanalo, so many of them talking about Rudiger and saying that he was perhaps the best defender Chelsea had. And even in the season when Lampard was around and Rudiger was, I think, on the bench quite often, Hasselbank used to come out on Sky and say the exact same thing. So I don't really see that as plausible as to why he wasn't valued. Okay, Lampard didn't want him, but Lampard left in January last year, and then he was in the side. So there has been time to work on this. It's just a shame that it hasn't happened. I've got to go.
Yeah,
Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much. Always good to have you around, Bobby. And whenever time allows, I'll be happy to welcome you to the panel. Thank you very much.
Bless you.
God bless you. Stav, welcome to the stream. This is your first time on Chelsea Perspective stream. Stav, what do you think about the situation we're in right now in terms of the center backs, Rudiger, Andreas Christensen, both looking like they're going to leave us eventually?
Well, sorry I'm a bit late, but I'd actually dozed off because I'd had another bad night, so that's why I've just joined.
And by the way, Happy New Year to you.
And Happy New Year to everyone else. Everyone in the chat, etc. Okay, right. Let's just get on with the business, shall we?
Yes.
Forget the fact that he wasn't given a contract back in December or January or February or even March, right? He hadn't performed till Tuchel arrived, right? And that's when he started performing. He was going to... It was on the cards he was going to leave anyway, and that he would get sold because Lampard basically didn't want him, right? The narrative that someone is to blame for this situation right now as an individual is the same one now he's gone, right? I'm not going to hold back because I've got really angry now, right? Bobby has been basically trawling through the channels, making attacks on Marina, and now I'm going to give the opposite angle, right? The club were looking to sell him because that's what Lampard wanted, right? Just like when Lampard wanted Mendy, right? The club went and got Mendy for whatever reason. Let's fast forward, shall we, to the end of the season. In May, and this is out there on public record, right? It's nothing new, right? In May, right, Chelsea approached Rudiger to start discussions for a new contract, obviously based on his form under Tuchel, and Tuchel obviously wanted them to negotiate. Rudiger, right, himself, and it's there on public record, decided and stated publicly that he didn't want any talks until after the Euros were completed, and that that was his main worry at the time with the European.
Well, wouldn't you say it's already becoming late then? It's already getting dangerous as it is right now and then.
No, but because right, the fact is, Lampard wanted him out, and he hadn't been performing. He'd been underperforming. It doesn't matter, right? All this stuff that this expert or that expert was saying he's the best defender, this and that. That didn't start until Tuchel arrived. And it was the same with Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank and all these other people talking up, right? the fact remains that they approached him in May. No doubt Tuchel asking him to make the approach because he wanted to keep him. They gave Tuchel an extended contract to 3 years instead of 18 months. And so they tried to give him what he wanted, right? I'm getting sick of this narrative that Mourinho is to blame for the delay. Then he comes
Okay,
back
stop. Go ahead. No, I was going to show you this when you're done. I was going to show you this comment on the screen by saying when you're done. And then we'll let Helgi come in to voice his own opinion. Go ahead, Stav. Go ahead if you want to, because see the comment here. Okay, the comment says Kante, Alonso, Jorginho. I don't really care how much Alonso has in his contract, but Kante, Alonso, Jorginho, Barkley. Forget about Barkley. I don't really care that much. Have 1.5 years left on their contract. Although Pulisic, Kovacic, Mount will have only 2 years left on the deal come 22nd, 22-23 season. So why are we leaving these negotiations so late? Because it creates a problem.
Well, no, why the late? Right, the 1.5 year ones, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it was 1.5 years, right? So they're obviously going to start the talks with them this summer, right? The ones who are 2 years, what's the big deal? There's plenty of time. Lots of clubs don't start negotiating until there's 2 years left. You don't just hand out an extension after 1 year of play, after 2 years of play, right? But I want to go back to that. That's how I feel about that. I don't think it's an issue, right? It might become an issue now if players start wanting too much money, right? And they don't care. So I want to address the Rudiger and the Christensen thing because they are the now. They are the now. Silva will sign, right? I have no doubts about that. Spilicueta possibly wants to go home, or he possibly has been offered more than 1 year by Barcelona if he goes. I've got no problem with him wanting to go home. He's given sterling service. He's made himself a club legend, right? I'm not going to get overly excited about someone who until 6 months ago, i.e. Christensen, right, was not playing at his best and then suddenly started finding form when Tuchel arrived. I'm not going to get carried away about that. He's agreed the deal twice. He's agreed the deal twice. That's we often guess that's just left. He agreed the deal twice and he moved the gatepost. First he didn't want a 5-year deal. Then he agreed a 3-year deal with a 1-year option. And now he's moved off from that again because they're putting money first, right? For them, right, they don't have to pay to sign them. Barcelona will get rid of someone to cover the salary. If we keep them, we still have to cover the salary, fee or not, right? I can't be bothered discussing Christensen because he's an academy product who should be more grateful to the club, right? If we can't afford to give him more, we can't afford to give him more. Right? His career has been shaped and set by the club, right? And that sounds, he wants to go, let him go as far as I'm concerned. Secondly, I want to get back to the main man, right? If the rumours are true that Real Madrid are going to give him 400,000 a week, we cannot afford that.
But was he what is it? Is that what is really asking, or is this all speculations?
No, this is speculations, right? But nobody can know what he's been offered, what he's asking. Even if he was only asking 200, 250, we can't afford that. Because if we give him that, the next person who's going to be up for the deal is going to want 250k a week as well. And so forth and so forth and so forth, right? The fact that we posted trading loss this year is an issue, but not as big an issue as people think. Complying with the new FFP from next year, forget all this nonsense that it's gone away because it hasn't. There's been leniency given because of COVID, But that's on salaries. The leniency is on salaries for this current year, right? So Rudiger, right, has been slow poking with the negotiations. Anything he's been offered, he's turned down. That's his right. That's what he wants to do. He can do it. But you can't criticise Mourinho, right? You can't criticise Mourinho because ultimately she'll negotiate a deal and then she goes to Roman to tell him what's been negotiated and what's been discussed. And then Roman decides whether it's a yes or a no. Not Marina, she's a negotiator. She's not the final say. Right? And it's been in the media that Roman is angry with Rudiger for putting putting his contract and money ahead of potential glory for the club. Right? This nonsense narrative, and then to go and say like what he just said, Bobby, before he left, right? He goes from one channel to another, spouting the same narrative. So I'll give you some examples, shall I? Why it's not true. Werner was concluded quickly. The reason he was concluded quickly is because he told his club, right, Leipzig, that he didn't want to play in the European competition and that he'd rather go to Chelsea earlier so he could spend the time getting prepared and settling in to London. That was done quickly. Lampard wanted Rice and he wanted Ziyech. Ziyech's deal was rejected because at that time Ajax was still leading the league on goal distance. So they didn't want to release him. And he was injured in January. He came back in February, played a couple of matches, half matches, like Tuchel does the evening back in, and the deal was done. The deal was done for him to arrive in the summer, right? And that's what happened. But the trouble is, with Holland, the league closed down. So he was able to come quicker. Let's discuss Harvard, shall we? Harvard did the opposite to what Werner did and told his club Bayer Leverkusen he wanted to play in European competition. He wanted to finish the competition for him. And that's why that was delayed, right? Bayer Leverkusen were not even willing to discuss fees and a move until they were out of the competition. The minute they went out of the competition, the deal was discussed and concluded. And you still, even in normal circumstances, they're not closed off like within 5 minutes, right? Marina did not win a director's award for no reason. But ultimately, seeing as Bobby seems to want somebody to blame, that's Roman. Because Marina negotiates, she returns to the club, she informs Roman of what's available, right? And he decides. If you remember rightly, the media were putting out that Roman had sanctioned an attempt to get Haaland. Like Roman had given a sanction to go ahead and negotiate for Haaland. It was only when they started negotiating and found out the ridiculous amount his agent and his father wanted that fell through. Once that fell through, we went to Lukaku, right, who Roman wanted anyway, right, and the deal was concluded within days. It took longer to arrive in London because he stopped off in Nice to meet his agent, right? Now, what other deals? Silva was done just like that, right? Once it was decided he wanted him, as soon as PSG lost the Champions League, the deal was done just like that, right?
Yeah.
He signed
Yeah.
Kante, right? He signed
So,
Jorginho.
we'll come back. We'll come back now, Stav, to a very important question that I want to ask you. But let's get Helgi's input to this situation, because wow, this is serious. Because it's always good to see things from different perspective. Also, I just wish Bobby was still here so that you two can see each other's perspective and we'll learn from you two. Now, Helgi, what do you think about the contract situation? How it was left so late, and we've read the message from Sin here. Some of them, but I understand Sav saying those that are 2 years, that's not a big problem. There's still time enough to sort those out. But 1.5 years to me, it's becoming a concern because players themselves have learned once it gets to that stage, they can just run it down and then toy with the club and then make ridiculous demands from the club. So, what do you think about Andres Christensen's contract being left so late? I understand Stav explained something about Rudiger saying he doesn't want to talk until after the Euros. But then it was, to me, if you ask me, Stav, I'd say then it was already a bit late. Again, there are so many, you could argue, so many sides to this situation.
Coach, that was his choice, right? We all know now the real reason. He was deliberately playing down the time, killing off the time.
Because I think that too, if you ask me, because there was a time, I think it was 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, when he was asked, is he talking with the club for a new contract? His response was that he's not in a hurry. When the time comes, that he will talk to the club. But it could be anything. We're just speculating. We're just seeing things from our own perspective and, presenting our views on what we think the situation is. So, Helgi, coming to you, what do you think about this whole thing that's causing us a problem right now?
Yeah. Look, I will go straight into the discussion and referring our contract situations to my opinion on Marina, because it has been a lot of things that have been said over the years, and since Semenaro left, more fuel has been added to the fire in this aspect. I haven't been a fan of Marina since a long time now, and in like I said, in the Sarri years, Conte years especially, I wasn't impressed with how we did our transfer policy. Then in general, I'm a person who is entitled to changing his opinion, so I don't want to run agendas on people and say that this is wrong and just to justify myself. But the thing is that although she has shown signs of improvement, in my opinion, especially in the transfer window that we did before Lampard's second year, so that last season, last summer, that we generated budget due to Eden Hazard's departure to Real Madrid, and we saw David Luiz and everything else, and we hadn't spent in both previous transfer windows due to the FIFA regulations and everything. So it was a vast improvement in this regard, because we signed players that were people that big clubs were looking for them. Like Werner was sought by Liverpool for a long time. Havertz was admired by all the rest of big clubs in the other parts of Europe, not only in England. Thiago Silva, we all knew that he would be a quality option, and I was very excited when I signed him, even though a lot of people prejudiced him because of his age or because the transfer was free. Mendy was a pre-planned signing, and Lolicon and Czech had scouted him for a while. And also Chilwell was somebody who had Premier League experience and who had a regular first team starting place at Leicester. So these were first targets, and somewhat warmed me to Marina's strategy more than I had done in the past few years. But the thing is that what I want to see from Marina is not glimpses of this kind of strategic approach, but I want to see sustainable approach. Like, we signed a lot of players because we had to do them more than it was an initiative for ourselves. We had 2 windows without spending a pence, and then our rivals continued the improvement process. And then when the transfer window last year came, so I'm referring to this summer, we signed Lukaku. Okay, fine. It wasn't Erling Haaland, but second choice. For me, it was first choice for a number of reasons. But the thing is that you need to see constant success, and you need to see an approach from the board to make sure that you spend not only when you are in difficulty, but also when you are in a position that you have to build on what you have. And there was no better moment than to building on winning the Champions League. And so I'm looking the situation from an alternative perspective. Like, if Pep won instead of us, I'm sure that City would have signed maybe two players 200 millions of pounds. So, and they were ready to do that, and it was only for Daniel Levy's reluctance to release Kane. Otherwise, they would have signed Grealish and Kane, two players in more than 200 millions of pounds. Now, what I have praised Marina for is the financial aspect of the club, financial situation, that even when the Super League were said that it would be created, among all the teams who had accepted to create that kind of new competition, we were the only side to have a positive net spend. And this is something interesting to see. But in the moments I want to defend Marina, but because of this fact, yesterday we get the news that the club has more than minus 140 millions of the financial annual budget. And this is what disappoints me. Now I read Economics in January, and it's a very insightful book about how finances work in football. And it said there that you can't maximize profit in a big club if you want to be successful. So it doesn't worry me the thing that we have a minus budget, because every big club does. If you want to maximize profit, you will either get a sharp drop in form, the players will leave due to the lack of initiative to renew their contract. You won't spend much on the stadium improvements and facilities and everything that has to do with spending money. But the thing is, how can you defend when you don't have the assurance that they will spend sustainably and they will act cleverly in the transfer market, not only in one window, but also in some windows in a row? And this is what top clubs do. Maybe if I make a reference with what we have done in the previous title winning seasons, right? In let's say, let's exclude 2016-17 for the fact that we had a less congested fixture list because of not playing in Europe. But in 14-15, we didn't have such a big squad in quality when you got out from that first 11. We had some Loic Remy's clutch moments, Drogba helped us when Diego was absent. But the problem is that, or the reality is that, since Pep has gone at City, the standard has raised. So you need to spend a lot, not only on the players you project to be your first teamers, but also for those that are constant benchers that can make the manager comfortable to changing his team a lot, to rotating his different period. And even if you change more than 7 players, the other 7 who replace them don't represent a substantial decrease in quality. It's actually the contrary. The quality is similar. Now, do we have that? No, we don't, in my opinion. And this is the problem. Like, we have to create a spine by having 2 different teams, not because of sort of just for spending money for the sake of it, but because of the standard has rise, because of the other ambitious teams. And we have spent in these 2 couple of transfer window, and I have praised Marina for that. But have I jumped in the Marina in bandwagon? No, I haven't, because I need to see her spending constantly, spending at least for 2 or 3 transfer windows. And if she, or the board in general, because it would be a bit naive to refer to the situation to one person, has been reluctant to spend big and quickly enough for the previous managers. Maybe Lampard is the first case that comes to mind, because of the fear that he would be not experienced enough to get the best out of them. And so there are a lot of things to excuse yourself. There is no room to excuse yourself when you have Thomas Tuchel, who won the Champions League in his first month in charge after finding the club mid-table, and he won the Super Cup later. So there is no place to have those dubs that the manager may not use them enough, and we may sack him, and then the other guy who comes in doesn't prefer X and excellent player. This is not the case now. Now you have a manager who proved his credential in a very, very quick amount of time, didn't abuse with the stuff that we can hear from other managers, that you need 2 or 3 or 4 years to build a successful team. So he said, I'm here, the time is now. And you rarely hear that from managers. And it's a breath of fresh air. And it's a double breath of fresh air when he kept his promises. So I am transferring this kind of perspective to the contract situations now. Now, it's the expression that it's better late than never. And the things doesn't act only formally in football. Like you have 1 year left on contract, so the time is running out. Some things, or a lot of things, based on the gentleman agreement you have, the commodity of of life that the player has in his team. Look at Thiago Silva, for example. The time span is the same for him and for the others, but the situation is completely different. Why? Because he is able to renew, even if you ask him to renew on 29th of June, because he's settled in England. He's adored by the fan. His wife comes to Stamford Bridge and watches the games constantly. So it's more of a situation of commodity and the gentleman agreement that you create, because as I said, the players are human beings first and foremost, and it's the matter of how you build a relationship with the players more than the sign that they will put on the contract paper. And this is how I see the situation now. If for Christensen it may be his fault because he has shown some weird flip-flop in the like changes of like situation. He has been he it was rumored that he agreed on a 5-year contract. Now it's said that he wants a
No,
3-year
no,
contract.
but Helgi, the question is, why did we leave it so late? Why?
No,
I
but
understand how many times I think he's
no,
changed his
no, but
mind
the
like
thing,
2 times now.
I want to say that would it be any different if we had done it earlier? Okay, like you can do it now and you can do it previously. The thing is that there was a transition in football in terms of setting a manager, and Rudiger wasn't preferred under Lampard, so there wasn't really the terrain to renew his contract when he wasn't really playing. But things change quickly in football. And if you want my opinion on Rudiger's situation, it's entirely his board's fault, in my opinion, because what should he do more? In the sense that he should, he isn't asking for £500, 500,000 pounds a week. Like Alexis signed at United for that kind of sum. And this is when I would say, okay, Marina has to think that because he's showing a grumpy attitude towards the problem. But he's asking for doubling his wage. Now we pay Drinkwater 100,000 pounds a week. Now, how can you logically do, even in a work environment? Let's detach our discussion from football. You can, somebody who doesn't come to the job or does the job lazily, and somebody who gives everything for the success of a company, of a direction, and you pay them equally. This isn't right. It's a capitalist society at the end of the day. And if you pay Rudiger as much as somebody who is on loan in championship, this is not normal. So he has all the right of the world to ask for doubling his wage, because there are other players who get around 20 million of 200,000 pounds a week. So you wouldn't create that kind of chain effect that all will ask for a calculated sum of like a very expensive amount of money. He's asking something completely normal in modern football based on what he deserves. He has proved that, and he still isn't grumpy, in my opinion. Now, if you give him from 100, 140, why don't you give him 200 million when there are other people at the club who get that amount of money? And the thing, he isn't asking for more than that. What it's other situation what Real Madrid is giving to him because they appreciate him as the thing. But he has established himself in this regard, and he deserves to get this amount of money. Christensen is, I think, it's another story because he is showing his kind of problems in within himself, with the agent and things. But you have to give players who deserve, and you have to be quicker in the transfer market, in the sense that you have to keep up with the pace of the league, with the new standards of the league that have changed since Man City uh, started this kind of domination under Pep, and hasn't
So,
changed since. So that's my point in general. Now, I'm not that guy who say that I was against Marina 2 years ago, and I will always be against Marina. No, I care about my club, and I want the best. If she proves me wrong, I will be very happy, because it would mean that she would be interested in club having a substantial success, to having like consistency in terms of winning games and backing your manager, not a manager who was just the club legend and we backed him based on sentiments, but somebody who came in, proved himself, didn't abuse with the trust of the fans, didn't abuse with the time he was given to him, didn't care about the length of the contract we initially gave to him because he rightly judged that it would be the same whether you
Here's the thing. Here's the thing, Helgi.
so
Here's the thing. I know you're
that's
very,
why.
very.
So to conclude it, I won't go more in detail because I more or less said what I wanted to say. But the thing is that you have to back your manager substantially. If she does it in January, if she does it in summer, then I would say, like, I would be very happy with the stance, and I would say that yeah, I have changed my opinion on Marina because the stance is clear. But you have to prove it consistently. And not only after you haven't spent the pants into summer transfer window. I appreciate her for the signings we made before last season, but you have to do it consistently. And this is what I mean in this kind of situation. And now we have to do it even more because the squad is depleted enough to make us move into the transfer market. So the contract situation, I said, we may have done them earlier, but it's more the relationship we have a player which doesn't have a time frame rather than the timing of the contract. So yeah, there are things that have to do with the human nature more than a number in the piece of paper. So that's what I believe, and hopefully, hope guys last we solve all this kind of stuff. We stand in the market, and I will still keep my hope alive, especially about Rudiger because he's a crucial player in our team. And yeah, I hope that the things will fix as soon as possible. But this is
Yeah.
my
We've been talking for how long, man? 2 hours and 2 minutes. And again, I mean, it's been an interesting conversation, one that we all can all learn from. And the truth is, I understand your argument about the club's inability to back Tuchel, but to some measure, you have to look at the situation in the sense that we have too many players, some of which are back from injury, some of which are already at the club, and we can't just sign as many players as we want to while the others are still there. And I think the problem was that the club wasn't able to loan out players or sell some players so that to make room for Tuchel to bring in the profile of players he wants to build the team in his image. I think that's one of the reasons why the club wasn't able to sign him enough players, if you ask me. Yeah, I agree. There's a need to always support your manager when he wins such a huge tournament, such as the Champions League. But I didn't think we had the space then to, get him the players he wants. So because if you remember, that was at the time the club. I think people talked about how the club wasn't able to send players on loan, sell some players to make room for new players. Because where do we keep them? That's the thing. There's no space. So I think we can't really blame the club for not getting in as many players as possible for Tuchel as he wants. Yeah. So Bobby, but I always like your argument, Helgi, because I think you see things from an intellectual perspective, and that's what we do here on Chelsea Perspective. So I appreciate that. Bobby, I see you're back, and I think you must have been back too because you have something to say.
Yes, absolutely. I have a lot of respect for platforms and for you. So, and it's the first day of the year, so I have to be very measured in my response. Look, I have no agenda or interest in individuals. I think I've said that. My interest is Chelsea Football Club, period. And I should be free in a free world, which is where I'm from, to be able to express my ideas without having people come and troll and attack me and insult me on Twitter such that I have to block them and then start going from channel to channel, naming me as if I have some kind of agenda. I'm a free person just like anybody else, and I can speak my mind just like anybody else. And I try to be objective in what I'm talking about. Now, when I'm talking about the Chelsea situation, as far as Rudiger and indeed Christensen is concerned, it is blatantly obvious. It's not about finding excuses. It's not particularly about finding reasons as to why the situation is what it is. But we're in a situation where we need solutions. The root cause is poor planning. You learn from poor planning. The planning that was lost when we had the opportunity of being fresh European champions and having money in our pockets has gone. Yes, some people didn't want to come say that they didn't want to come and talk because of the Euros and so on. That is a plausible reason. However, everything is always up for negotiation, and the effort and the skill you use in negotiation often determines the outcome. Apathy is not the answer. Doing nothing is never a solution. Right now, what Chelsea should be doing is that if, and that is a big if, because these two guys could sign a contract in May. Anything can happen. I'm talking about Christensen and Rudiger
True,
still.
true, true.
But if we want to drown the noise, which will only distract the rest of the squad, and if we want to create a less chaotic situation, we would be coming up with a plan B now, or we would be renegotiating now. I don't believe Rudiger has ever asked anybody for 400,000 a week.
No, I don't believe so either. It's all speculations, if you
It
ask me.
is total speculation. And even last I read, the 400,000 a week from Real Madrid was really put together by I think advertising rights and things like that. It wasn't a direct wage. Who's going to pay 400,000 a week on a defender? It's ridiculous. And Real Madrid, despite their financial strength, they are trying to come out of the COVID financial problems that they were in, and they are trying to be sensible going forward, because nobody knows how long this is going to continue, and COVID has been a lesson to everybody. So, the sums being put out there, I don't know the truth behind it. My complaint is time taken. My concern is lack of a plan B. And if it's true that we cannot bring back our
Loan players.
our loan players at all, then that again is a matter of poor planning when we sent them out to loan in the first place. Because now we have a major issue. No left back, no right back, and this defensive problem, all of which must have a solution this January, or we can kiss all those competitions goodbye. That's my point.
Yeah, I think I get that too, because again, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Again, we have an owner who's not patient in terms of the way he wants success. He wants success. He wants it right now. We Chelsea fans also, we've learned not to be patient at all. We want success. We want success right now. So I think if we really want this season to win at least a trophy or two this season, the solutions have to be, that is, we have to find solutions this January. We don't have to wait till summer, because there's still a lot to play for. The Champions League is still there. The Premier League isn't over. And right now, I think it's still zeros between Arsenal, if I'm right, between Arsenal and...
No, it's
Arsenal,
1-0. It's 1-0 to
1-0 who? 1-0 Arsenal?
Yeah, one.
So exactly. So that's even better. So yeah, the Premier League isn't really over yet. There's still quite a lot to play for. But if we want to really win one or two trophies, we have to find a solution. Like you did say it, Bobby. This January, there's no time, no need to put it up to, because it's getting worse. Think about how many. Thiago Silva just got injured the other day. We had no proper replacement in terms of the skill set needed to, to facilitate that position. Andreas Christensen got injured. So yeah, Bobby, go ahead.
And one more thing I need to say is that, you see, this investment in Deadwood, what really is the value of having people like Malang Sarr, um, uh, Saul Niguez, another mistake, and indeed, bless him, Barkley, who I was really praying will do things, will do something better. These people are in the squad and we can't use them. They're of no value. So what's the point? I think we have to take the L. The sad thing about it is that when your root cause is bad decisions and poor planning, it makes the cost go up even more. It's going to be even more expensive. And if we're going to prioritize success, we might have to just keep some of those players in the doldrums and still be paying them until we can actually really get rid of them in the summer. That is the decision making and the solutions that we have in front of us. Doing nothing is not an option.
Yeah, I think I understand your point quite clearly, and there's always something to learn from anybody's perspective. And again, like you said, this is a new year, and we don't have to all agree, but respect to each other is very important. We're all humans. Some of us are Christians. Whatever higher power we believe in, it's important to always respect each other, no matter our viewpoints. Even if we disagree with the other person, it's important to be civilized, respect each other. If we all agree, then something isn't right. But if we disagree to some measure, then we have smart people amongst us. So we'll learn from each other. So I appreciate the perspective from you, Bobby, perspective from you, Stav. I know your stance very well. I know Bobby's stance very well. As for me, I know my own stance. Mine differs from the two of you slightly. Helge's differs. Helge leans more to Bobby and somewhat leans more to Stav and to me also. So we can all never agree. That is not possible. If we all agree that something is terribly wrong somewhere. So again, I don't know if we look at Digne's solution. Some people say he's the best option. I've argued he's not the best option because he's just a short-term solution, and that's not what we need right now. We need a permanent fix to that position, somebody who can push Ben Chilwell to always be at his best. I mean, it's everywhere. We lack in the midfield area. We lack in the defensive area. We lack in the flanks. We don't have, since we lost, I know Stav will say, no, we have wingers, but the truth is, since we lost, what's his name, Pedro and Willian, I don't think we've gotten proper replacements in terms of their profiles and how they play, what they bring to the table. I think we need wingers also. So it's a huge problem, but we can prioritize and take care of the most important areas first, which is a left wing back, I think the right wing back, center backs also. I mean, I just want to thank you all for finding time to participate. Any final words from you, Bobby? Then I'll give Stav also and get his final words and Helgi so we can round up because we've been streaming for 2 hours and 13 minutes.
Yeah, just my final take on this is that, as I said earlier, doing nothing is not an answer. We've already made the mistakes. So now we're looking to rectify. We're looking at damage limitation. Now, if we find that we cannot buy, there are some players in the academy that are potentially, good. We can't bring Matson back. But I think there's people like Uwakwe and Hall.
Uwakwe, is he still with us? Didn't we sell him?
No, he's still
No
at the
idea.
we sold Ubo, right?
Yeah.
No, we're still at the club.
Yeah.
Okay, we sold Ubo. Okay, thank you.
He's a left back, and Hall is a left back. And from what I understand, obviously COVID has stopped me from going to watch these academy games live. as I used to. But I understand they're pretty good. So maybe, just like when we had the transfer ban, this is the time we start to blood these players. But then, if we're in that position, our expectations must change. And we should be just looking to ask Tuchel, please just try and keep us in the top four so we can go at this again next season. Because really, they are as green as they come. But what if there's anything Chelsea Academy has taught us is that these kids are so committed that when they get on that field, they give it everything, and you can't ask for more. That is if we can't buy.
Thank you very much, Bobby, for putting it that way. And I think these academy players are good enough, but unfortunately, the best of them are out on loan, and we're not sure whether we have a clause in the contract that allows us to bring them back so that they can help solve this problem. But we'll find out. I heard also that where Emerson is on loan? What's their name again? That they refused to let go because there was nowhere in the contract that that's a clause for them that we can bring him back whenever we want. So, Stav, over to you. What on to round it off on how do we solve this problem? What do you think can be done?
To be honest with you, I'm fed up with the whole conversation. Let me just put something in context here, okay? Marina does not choose the players we sign. She goes and negotiates.
Leon, thank you. No, we're talking. Okay, stop. Here's the question: how do we solve the situation right now?
No, look. I can't be bothered because we're just going down the same old road. That it's all one person's fault. She is a negotiator. We have a finance department, right? Roman decides how much we spend on an individual, ultimately, which Frank Lampard quite clearly said in his recent interview. Marina is a negotiator, no more. She then goes back to the board or Roman and puts the deal that she's negotiated to them, and they decide, or Roman decides, if he's available, how much we give somebody else. Beg your pardon?
Don't worry. Wait, yeah, go ahead. We're listening. Don't worry. Go ahead, Stav.
I'm sorry, but your two guests there in the studio seem to think that Marina is the managing director, the general manager, the chief executive officer. She's the negotiator. She's a negotiator. All that dead wood leading back to Drinkwater, Bakayoko, all that lot. Michael Emenalo was still at the club and he was still director of football. Let's get that right. Okay, as Bobby.
Okay, Stav. How do we solve the situation we have at hand? We will do a stream where we discuss who's responsible for what. If that's what we want, we can.
There is nothing, right, that says I've not seen anything myself that we can't recall Maatsen, right? If Bobby wants to use the academy players and the kids, then that's down to Tuchel, not the board, right? That's down to Tuchel to select them, right? He has had all season when he could have been bringing one kid in, which he has been doing, train with the first team, get them ready, right? That's down to Tuchel, but no, he doesn't want to. It's that pure and simple, right? This is nothing to do with Marina. Using the kids is nothing to do with Marina, right? Or the board, that's up to Tuchel. Yes, I get the fact that he maybe has to take a gamble and maybe then end up being in trouble if we don't achieve top four. There is no reason whatsoever with that squad that we cannot finish top four, even with the injuries. Even Werner's back in training. Now, right? Loftus-Cheek is the only one in Christiansen, right? There is no right. And I just want to make a point, right, about the squad and how we've been left with these players. Malang Sarr was on a plane going to Germany to conclude a loan deal with a German club. And they rang Chelsea and changed their minds while he was on the plane in the air. Okay? But how do you legislate for that? How do you legislate for for trying to offload Barkley and he's asking too much money from the club that you're trying to offload him to. How do you legislate for that? Do you then say that fine, you can take him on loan, we pay 50% of his wage, etc., etc. Barkley, Sarr, right, and Baker were never meant to be in that squad. But because they're there and they have to carry on paying them, they've added them to the squad. Callum Hudson-Odoi is in the B list. He's in the under-21 list. We actually have 26 senior players in our squad, plus one of the kids, right, until the COVID, and now there's more of them being listed. All this narrative that this deal or that deal or... just get over it. She's a negotiator. There is a board. There was a director of football, right up to 2020 until Sarri arrived, right, and he disappeared. And that director of football went to Monaco and lasted 5 minutes, and even got Thierry Henry.
Okay. Now, Stav. Let's talk about this now. I know.
We will sign someone.
All right.
You know that's on loan, right? Or on the full.
All right, Stav. Let's answer this question and round up. I understand your point, and we're all entitled to our points. Like I said before, we disagree to agree, and we disagree because we're all smart. If we all agree, then something is wrong, and we'll never make progress. We'll never learn. We'll make mistakes and learn from mistakes. Like Bobby did put it, the board makes mistakes.
Coachila, we have a right wing.
And we mistake. We did not support our manager. And that was when I tried to explain to him we couldn't buy more than a few. We couldn't buy too many players because we have too many that wasn't able to go out on loan. Clubs couldn't take him. And you explained to us right now it was because of how much they're asking. So there's always something to learn from each one of us. So the question is, how do we solve this problem in this January transfer window? Is it possible to solve now, or do you think we cannot solve it right now?
I already said that, right? That I have seen nothing that says we can't recall Maatsen, right? Unless he turns around and says he doesn't want to come back, right? Broja is at Southampton, right? I believe we could call him back if we wanted to, but he's only there because Tuchel didn't want to use him. When he signed his extension, the club said to him, you'll be included in the first team squad. That was part of him agreeing, right, to come back and sign an extension. Then Tuchel had the whole squad, bar Kennedy, right, who refused to come back to England, right, and looked at the whole squad and made his decisions. So, unfortunately, he has to take some of the blame as well, because he allowed good youngsters to go out on loan. This narrative that the club decides who they're going to loan out is nonsense. The manager decides who he wants to use and who he doesn't, right? We have a right back. His name is Cesar Azpilicueta. The problem is Tuchel is insistent on playing the two wing backs. And we do have wingers, right? Pulisic's strength is going down the wing, at pace, running at people, and it's Callum Hudson-Odoi as well. Ziyech is a different animal, but he's still a wide man who goes down wide and then cuts in, just like Pedro used to, right? There are wingers there, but we're slaves to a system which Tuchel wants to stick to, right? I'm not blaming him. If that's what he wants, that's up to him. He's the manager, right? But this continuous narrative that one person is to blame is nonsense. We will sign somebody on loan, or we will recall Maatsen, right, for the left side, right? Centre half, right, we may sign one now, and we may sign a midfielder. The operating loss from last year, as Helgi said, isn't an issue, right, as such, because you can amortise all these deals, you spread it out over certain periods, right, and all that account, that goes with salaries as well. So it's not the loss isn't that big a deal, but it also says that because we've lost that money, we have to be more careful. I never said Rudiger was asking for 400,000. I said
nobody mentioned anybody. Nobody said anybody said that. To be honest,
no, hang on a minute. I mentioned it earlier, right?
Okay.
So right? I mentioned it earlier, but I never said he asked for it. I said that's
No,
what
no,
his
and
local.
nobody said you said he asked for it. It's out there. That's
Right.
what people are saying out there. It's in the
And
media.
I'll answer Helgi's point, right? Forwards and midfielders always get more than defenders. That's a simple equation, right? Whether we think Rudiger deserves his double salary, or Christensen deserves double salary, or so and so deserves a double salary, right? It is irrelevant. It's what the club thinks. It's what they value a specific player at, right? And they decide. But defenders have notoriously never had the same. I can guarantee you that the only defender who's ever had a massive salary is John Terry, right? And he was captain, and you know all the score. He was the linchpin of that squad, right? And backbone. He's the only person who's ever in defence had a massive salary. And Ashley Cole probably got better salary for left back, right? But in general, defenders get paid less. That's the way it goes. That's the way it goes. And also, Chelsea have to reach the stage where they have to make an example of players trying to hold them to ransom. Because that's what Rudiger's done. He could have negotiated last May. He decided not to. Right? You check. He's made public statements all along, right? Even recently, that there's no rush, right? January's the time it matters, which means he's been stretching it and playing it. So to blame a negotiator for that is out of order, because the negotiator goes back, speaks to Roman. It's even been in the public domain that Roman's angry with him. Does that not tell anybody anything?
Yes. Yes, I think you make a great argument. It's a difficult problem to solve right now. And the truth is, if I start telling you what I learned from you, what I learned from Helgi, and what I learned from Bobby, you will be surprised. And our disagreement should be, taken as an opportunity to learn something from each other. Because I wouldn't like it if you guys all come to my stream and when I say something, we all go, agreed, like we're in the parliament. It's not like that. Even in the parliament, they argue a lot. They only say agreed when they're voting or something like that. So I want a situation whereby we can all come, express ourselves freely. It's a free world. We live in a free world. Say what you feel, express your opinion. The other person expresses their opinion. Respect for each other, and the viewers will enjoy it, and we can always learn from each other. So I thank you all, and let me read from this great content of Mania with Felicia. If you haven't checked out her YouTube channel, I urge you to go do so. Since we got into top 4, we haven't really left, despite all these issues we have with COVID and injuries. It is not so complicated if we trust that our Champions League manager back him like City or Liverpool, which was the argument that Helgi has made before. I wish we could keep going. We stayed here. We had about 10, 12 people before. They all went away. People are coming back, but we can't not stay forever. Let's go see how City are suffering in the hands of
it's
Arsenal. What?
Yeah, it's half time there, I think. Arsenal had a couple of other chances, but it's still 1-0. Yeah, it's half time.
Yeah, even that, City will be suffering right now, and they will be all out to equalize, and Arsenal might get a chance to equalize, to score more goals, so to speak. So Bobby, I saw your message. You got to bounce. I understand, and thank you for finding time to join the stream. And also, staff, thank you for your first appearance on Chelsea Perspective. It's been a brilliant discussion overall. And Helgi, can you take some time and tell the viewers about you, where you're from, and why you love, just go ahead, over to you.
Yeah, as you said before, I'm Helgi. I'm an Albanian Chelsea fan. Been supporting the club for 12 years now, and I'm proud to be part of the community, the Chelsea community all over the world. And it's an identity of mine, and proud to have it, despite the discussion that we make, as you say, there are a lot of clashes of perspective, so this makes it even more interesting. Always respectful to every kind of opinion of the others, and also trying to do my best when it comes to discussing about my club and supporting my arguments. And it's very nice to be here for, I don't remember what time now, because it has been always a pleasure, and I find myself home here in the sense that the discussion and the commodity is the best one. So hopefully, yeah, we'll grow even more in the future. We'll have more discussions, constructive as we have always done, and hopefully we will uh, like enjoy success about the club, because as Tuchel says that the training sessions and press conferences, everything is easy after the win. The same applies to us, and for me personally in particular, that it's easier to discuss and to have energy to make constructive debates when we win and we are in a in the right position. Something just finally, in terms of Felicia comment, I completely agree that the situation is not that complicated and less in principle. So we are champions of Europe, and it's very easy to say at last to back our manager and to support him with the signings that he needs to build the team, not necessarily through young players from the academy, because if you want to be successful, you just can't cover your personal deficiencies with player coming in from the academy. You can see, for example, for Callum, that I have followed him, that he had shooting as his best trait, and now he has everything else, but shooting is a problem. So people often neglect the um, transition process from the lower ranks uh, to the to the first team, and also about the debate that we made with Steven and Bobby about Rudiger and the contracts. Finally, for me, it's not necessary to say that defenders should earn less, because City pays Ruben Diaz around 6 million a year. Fernandinho is a defensive-minded player. He's 36, and he's among the top five, I think, if I'm not wrong, well paid, the highest paid players in the club. So you get paid by what you deserve and by your performances, not because of scoring goals or not. So this is the key principles, and I want to respect the others' opinions, but at the same time keep my argument in this regard. Always a pleasure, as I said, to be here again. Happy New Year from the bottom of my heart, whoever is watching this, whoever is supports the club. Hopefully, the guys will make us proud tomorrow and to kickstart the year in the best possible manner. And cheers, happy New Year to you as well, because I we haven't contacted because of time difference, and I didn't know when New 1st January came to you, because here it's like 2:34 p.m. now. So happy New Year from the bottom of my heart, whoever you're watching. May the new year bring peace, prosperity, happiness, and everything to you and your families. And cheers, and thank you, whoever has been watching the stream.
Yeah, Sergi, yeah, thank you very much and Happy New Year to you. I wish you a very, very blissful New Year. And the same to you, Football Mania with Felicia and my brother and friend Lee Sule. I'll try and give you a call. I did see your missed call, but it was a little too late then, so I couldn't call back when I wasn't able to call you back when I saw that you had tried to reach me. So yeah, again, it's Blue Morning. It starts 11 a.m. UK and 3 a.m. PST every Saturday. It's been fun, and this is the third uh, episode. And the conversation today was very heated. When that's how it usually is whenever Bobby and Stav are on the panel. They disagree with each other so much, but there's always something to learn from the two of them. So that is it from me, Coachila, and I will make sure to provide a complete information for Bobby, for also Stav, and also for Helgi, so that if you want to reach any of them, you can find their information in the comment section when the video is ready. And I say bye and God bless you all. Cheers.
Cheers.